Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. Every week, we bring you the stories of people who are making a difference in the lives of others, locally, globally, and digitally. We're excited to be able to do that through our videos and through our podcasts. We want people to have that opportunity to be inspired by their ability to make a difference in their communities. As we see it, this happens so many different ways, and the opportunity to do this in interesting ways is evidence itself in all sorts of cool ways in youth radio. And so we have with us today Kyra Kyles, who is with Youth Radio.
And you know what? I'm sorry to stop you. It's YR Media. So
YR Media.
Yeah.
We are so glad you're here to learn about YR Media, which
Yes.
which Rushton thought was Youth Radio.
It was at one point. It was, and I will reference that, but
no longer is.
No, it's YR Media.
Yeah. All right. As you can tell, we are already comfortable and excited about sharing this together. As you go through this, you may decide you want to get more of the bio about Kyra. You're going to find that on any of the web pages associated with our videos or podcast. And we hope you will give that a good look. You'll find links there where you can learn more about the work being done and how you might support it. And we encourage you to do so. Absolutely. Kyra, we're so excited to have you. Welcome to the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. And I hand the mic over to you. Welcome.
Well, I thank you so much for the warm welcome. And I am super excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you. All right, should I kick it off? Share screen? What are you going to do?
Go ahead and kick it off and let's make this happen.
All right, give me 1 second. I'll cue it up. And I look forward to giving a history lesson as well, because, YR Media has got a lot going on. We've been around 30 plus years, as you can see, from this first slide. And, to be real with Rushton, we did start out as youth radio. So we're an award-winning leading media technology and music training center. We have a platform for students and for paid interns that are ages 14 to 24. We really focus in young people from Black and Brown communities and also from historically underrepresented communities. But the way we got our start was as youth radio. It was a storefront in Berkeley, and it really evolved because we wanted to have young people of color on public radio so that they could speak up for themselves. There was a lot of negative news about young people, particularly, of color. And so we wanted to give them a platform. But over 30 years, we've evolved to offer all of these really interesting different platforms based on what we were told by what I call our YR stars they were interested in. And we are based now in Oakland in headquarters that we own. But we last year opened up another physical location on a smaller scale in the Midwest. So we're super excited about that. But our general goal is to invest in diverse talent and to really zero in on cultural relevance, especially in all the media that we all consume. So as you may have guessed from that, one of the biggest things that we're trying to do and the real purpose of what I'm about to get into is that we want to create inclusive spaces. It's not enough to just say someone can be part of something. We want people to feel that they are included in that in a real way, in an authentic way. Black and Brown youth in particular, because they've been excluded from so many narratives. Not only have they been excluded, they haven't really been, offered opportunities as other people have to be able to speak for themselves. And so our whole purpose is to shape narrative and to bring about change through narrative change. And so we also want to have a diverse and inclusive media landscape. I still remember, and I'm not a teenager anymore, but I'm also not somebody in their 70s. And I've had experiences where when I've gone into a newsroom, I've been the only one, or I've been at a press conference and I've been the only one. And that's something that we shouldn't even be talking about anymore in 2024, but unfortunately it is. So YR Media's vision is to disrupt that. And so one of my favorite topics on earth is internships. But I sometimes think of them as un-ternships, the way that we offer them at YR Media, because the point is we just really need to pay young people for their work, and particularly young people if they're from a historically underrepresented community. So just to put some factoids and some numbers behind that, here's the challenge that, yes, we always have had wonderful BIPOC content creators, super creative people, cultural significance, cultural relevance, really dictating, what's going on in America in terms of what's cool, what's going on. But at the same time, what we're asking young people to do, particularly early in their careers, is we're saying to them, hey, you are not going to get any money for what you're doing. You're not going to be paid for your creativity. You're not going to be paid for your talent. As a matter of fact, you're going to pay us through this thing called your dues. And the issue with that is that young people of color generally, and not to say all because we don't want to generalize, but they don't have statistically the built up generational wealth of their peers who are white. So if you can look here, you can see some of the median wealth of households. Now, I'll say for myself, when I was younger, I was able to partake in unpaid internships. I went to Northwestern University. That was one of the biggest things that we all did. Very few internships were paid. But what I also noticed is that it kept young people of color from being part of that. If you have to make a choice between earning money and doing something that's within your passion, a lot of times if you do not come from generational wealth, you won't be able to partake. So what it is like almost an invisible system that's suppressing you and keeping you from doing what you want and pushing you toward roles where they will compensate you for what you're doing. So as you can see here, there's a great disparity. Like white households, it's $184,000. Get to black households, $23,000. So these are numbers that are real. And I think people just really need to keep that front of mind and back of mind. Yes, when you are hiring an intern, you are giving them valuable experience, but also, do you really want to be in a position where you're asking a young person to choose between their dream or contributing to their household or something that they may have to do? They may have absolutely no choice in the matter. And so what we like to think of it at YR Media is placing creators in careers. Yes, it's amazing that they're able to create some amazing content, which I'll show you in a little bit. That is something that we really take pride in making sure that they're able to look around at their communities, tell the stories that matter to them, make music, produce designs, produce podcasts. These are all the things that they're doing. And so the way that we do it is that we have a core program, and that's how most young people come into YR Media. They come in and they get a smorgasbord of all the different types of media they can partake in. Then they go into a bridge program, which is essentially where they declare their major and they go deeper into a track that they are interested in of all the tracks that I mentioned. But what we love about this is, one, at both of these points, we do have stipends for young people. So they are given a stipend that will help them with some of the expenses that they may incur. It also starts training them that your work is valuable, even your learning is valuable. So they're receiving payment for that. Then at the same time, once they go through core and bridge, which typically takes 6 months, they then go into a paid internship placement. So they have interviews, they have a job fair, very much like what you would experience in any professional environment, and they're getting real world experience in media departments. And what's important about this is it's not just about a paycheck or sending a stipend to someone. It's, one, teaching them their value that they have inherently, that sometimes people are not bringing out of them or not letting them see that they have it. And then secondly, the confidence level that they have. When you have been compensated for your work, that sets a precedent. So when you go and you're out there looking for jobs, looking for roles, trying to advance your academic career or being an entrepreneur, you're already being trained to know that your work is of value and that you should not be expected to accept less. So that's one of the things that I think is extremely important about this model, and something that we're trying to encourage other nonprofits and other organizations, particularly in media, music, film, where statistically you're not getting a lot of paid internships, that this is extremely important and something that has to happen if you really want to diversify the people that are working at your company. And the biggest thing is that you are truly not doing anyone a favor when you do that. What you're doing is you're making yourself more appealing because you are on the cusp of everything that's going on, and you're creating a workplace that actually mirrors what America is. And so just to share a little bit about what YR Media is producing and what we are compensating young people for, you can get a look at some of the things that we produce. So for example, Deeply Rooted was a photography partnership and editorial that we created with some partners, including Grist, and they're a climate change outlet. And so we worked with them. Young people dug in and tried to find people that you don't typically see that are working on environmental change. And so really deep profiles, younger people, because there's a vast number of people that are working on climate change, but you really only see 1 or 2 young people. And I won't name any names because I do appreciate them and what they're doing, but we definitely want to see more. We have podcasts. We've produced one that's crossed the million podcast download mark. And we also produced limited series or co-produced them, such as Inherited, which is another climate change platform. We also, which was introduced about 10 years ago, just out of demand, like the YR stars were like, we love this journalism, but we want to produce music too. And that really goes along with what we're doing because we can score the documentaries we make, and we can score our podcasts. But we introduced really like about a year ago is equitable licensing and music library. So in addition to young people producing music, which is always fun, and they do make some really, really good compositions and beats, they receive a percentage of the proceeds when we license out that music. So that's really important because that's not the way the record industry works. So they're getting 60% in this scenario, whereas, it's usually the opposite or far worse when you're dealing with like an actual record label. And so we're trying to shift that dynamic as well. And then we also do all kinds of cool expanded partnerships. We've worked with the Washington Post, won a Gracie's Award for a project we did, Teens in America, that really focused on racial identity. We partner with other nonprofits across the country, including, which I love, True Star Media in Chicago. And we've also worked with KQED Live, and another one of our partners that's really impactful is we are the lead convener of the California Youth Media Network. So these are some of the projects that young people find themselves working on, and they're literally working shoulder to shoulder with adult employees who are mentoring them, helping them with career opportunities, and also teaching them about, what some of the possibilities are as they evolve through the space. And so last, just wanting to really talk about the other important element. In addition to paying young people, it's important for companies, organizations to really think about what kind of supportive environment they're offering. So we offer, as we mentioned, financial support, super important, but we also offer therapeutic support. We have counselors on hand to help young people in our locations. We also have case management, and we offer healthy food and snacks. Because we do have quite a few young people that are coming from a background of food or housing insecurity. And we've brought our magic into other markets. So we expanded into Chicago, as I mentioned, last year, which is super exciting because I'm a native Chicagoan, although I've adopted the Bay Area as my home and I love it. The food is so good and the people are so nice, but wanted to make sure that we had this in Chicago as well. And what we've done is we've introduced 24 students, and that's our first ever cohort. And we will have 50 career opportunities for them by the end of this year. And we've also found new contributors. We have contributors all across the country, in addition to the young people that go through our programming, about 600 right now. And we have 55 new Midwest Hub contributors, which really helps us do a lot of space-based storytelling. It's very important to do that as well. So, actually started a video. So, we didn't mean to do that, but you'll catch a snippet. And if you want to see the rest, you'll just have to go to YR Media's YouTube page where you can see that. yrmedia.org, we have the full video there. But yeah, in general, we just want to end by just talking about what is the future. This is what we've been doing. And this is also not only what we've been doing, but we encourage others to do. Just having a commitment to equitable access and resources. In addition to counseling and other resources that we've offered at YR Media, we also offered financial coaching and savings matching through a partner. We want to do more work with our stipend expansion and offering paid learning experiences. Not only are young people paid for the work they do every day, if they speak on a panel or if they attend a conference on our behalf, all these things come with compensation, and we encourage our partners to compensate them directly where possible. And then in addition to that, just continuing to have more platforms. We started out with public radio, evolved into just general multimedia journalism. We have music, we have design, we have podcasts that we're creating. So all these things work together just to offer more opportunities that when young people leave our programming, that they're able to be really confident, paid, and going into these workplaces with the attitude that, yes, they are of value and they're not doing, no business is doing them a favor by bringing them on board. They're super talented. And people often say, well, that's great, you're empowering young people. But the fact of the matter is we're not, they have the power. We're just trying to help them see how that they can use it. So power is already in their hands. And what really helps with that is, again, the un-ternship model, which is you are a valued member of a team and what you're bringing is valuable. And we want to see you continue to do that throughout your career.
Fantastic, Kyra. This is really, really good stuff. I'm excited about this for several reasons. If you want to, you can go ahead and stop sharing. We'll bring everybody on. I'll introduce them.
Okay.
When I call your name, just wave at the camera. My name's Rushton. Hello. Joining us from Houston, Texas is member Rory Olson. All right. And here in the Bay Area, the paella master of the Rotary Club of Silicon Valley, Shag Shagrin. So I'll start the questions. We'll have the questions filter in through the chat, and of course, Rory and Shags, if you want, just let me know in the chat, and we can have you unmute as well. All things are possible. So, Kyra, when we start with this, one of the things about empowering students through paying them means that they're also getting the chance to experience what it means to be paid and what those processes look like. and how not to let those kinds of things kind of interrupt, otherwise a good start in a space. I'm curious what kind of things the students tend to say about that opportunity to get paid for their work, to have that first professional experience.
Oh, they really love it. And one thing that we learned, because initially, at least when I started, we were not offering stipends for the young people that were in media education. We were offering them supports. We offer transit support, other things that were helpful, the healthy snacks, as I mentioned. What we found, especially during the pandemic, when a lot of households were going through economic challenges, is that young people were being forced to choose between retail and doing what they wanted to do at YR Media. Now, there is nothing wrong with retail, and if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But it's great for you to be able to go with your choice. So once we began offering those stipends, we heard from young people how helpful they were, how appreciative they were. And so it helped them in those 6 months that they're getting the training, they're still able to realize some economic investment. And another interesting thing is that they told us, okay, this is great, we're making money. Can you teach us how to save it? And you teach us how to put this toward education. So we introduced financial coaching, and that was really helpful. And that came from them. That was feedback that we received from the young people, that they were grateful to be able to be earning, but they also wanted to be really, really thoughtful about spending and what they should do once they receive those payments.
Wonderful. I mean, as I see it, the creativity of the students, the chance to be paid for their creativity is a chance to really build confidence. And so when you see the work that kids are doing as part of the YR Media programs, is there a specific story or two, of what participants have done that really help capture the power of the program that you can share with us?
Absolutely. So one of the ways that we're able to tell that there's a transformation happening is when young people come in, a thing that we do constantly is we allow them to share their work. So at the end of each session, the core students and the bridge students share their work. It's like a multimedia extravaganza. Guardians, parents come, friends come, and they essentially talk about what they produced, and then it plays and everyone can enjoy it. It could be anything from music to a commercial to a mini documentary, radio. We do radio programming. It's really fun and it's great. So what we find though is that when they come in, we do ask them a series of questions like, how comfortable are you presenting to your peers? How much do you want to get up in front of everyone and show off your work? And I must say, initially, the enthusiasm levels are not that high. They're like, yeah, I don't know about getting up here sharing my work like that. And what if people say something or make a face and what we find is that by the time they reach bridge, not only are they way, way more excited about sharing, they're like looking forward to it. They're like, you will let me share my work. So that just shows that confidence that you mentioned. So it's really tactical and something that we can see that, they start out a little bit maybe on the shyer side, but you should watch one of these radio sessions. I invite your members to come and see it because they are having the best time and everyone is so supportive. Like, I love that, or that's a great beat you made. I would love to hear that on Spotify. So it's really cool. And they do really support one another.
That's beautiful. I think expanding the audience is always a way to kind of accelerate the opportunity to build confidence, right? And so when I think about an expanded audience, I was thinking as you were talking about some of these things about stories that I've heard on KQED, Shags, who's a money coach and a financial educator, and he was mentioning in the chat how this is really resonating with him. He listens to a lot of the stories through KCBS. Talk about your partners. Talk about some of the organizations that have really done a job of helping the kids understand what that expanded audience can mean for them.
Well, so historically, we've always been super grateful to our public radio partners. That's how YR Media, which is why it was called Youth Radio, like how it started out. What happened is over time, we've also been really focused on our own organic platform. So we are bringing in anywhere between 70,000 to 80,000 page views a month. And then on top of that, we work with partners such as you mentioned, KQED, KCBS, the Washington Post. We've worked with the New York Times in the past, Teen Vogue, Pop Sugar. So typically what we may do is we have a project, another outlet is interested in co-producing it with us or leveraging their platform to show it off. So like with Pop Sugar, we did a piece about youth and the elections at the time. And so we often look for those types of partnerships because we want to continue to get those audiences, but our audience skewers really multicultural and really young. And so a lot of times we find that our partners want to be on our platform because they may have, a larger audience, but we have a younger audience and one that's much more diverse, which is what most outlets are looking to achieve.
All right. So that also speaks to their sense of the audience, and you mentioned the tracks, right? So the different tracks that are in the core program, and there was music and media and film. I am guessing that for a lot of young people and a lot of supporters of your program, there is a sense that, okay, well, that means this, when in fact, the number of possibilities that are associated with music, media, film, and all the ones you didn't mention are like this, right? There's all kinds of different
Oh,
things.
absolutely.
About some of those things, the
Sure.
unexpected possibilities that are in this for young people and supporters.
Absolutely. So we have design, we have our audio/music track, which includes podcasting. We have our journalism track. And we have, as I mentioned, those tracks are very helpful in that they introduce young people to different disciplines. So your journalism, you can go into communications or social media. Design, there are infinite possibilities there. And we've actually had some young people who have wanted to go into STEAM or STEM related professions as a result of that. Music, you can go into producing your own music, or you could be an audio engineer, working at one of the stations that we work with. And in fact, we do have alumni that are working at those stations. But in general, like what we try to do is offer them these possibilities. And we also find that young people, even if they choose that discipline that they really want to dig down into, that later they may want to move around. Like, for example, we have a lot of music students that may say, hey, I'd like to go work on the podcast team. Or we have a newsroom person who says, hey, I love the newsroom, but I'd also like to get, deeper into video as a specific, plane there. So we offer those tracks because we want them to have a range of possibilities, but there are also many, many fields, communications, tech, that you can go into as when you get these baseline skills. And also we teach, as they call them, soft skills that can apply to any industry. Like how to interview, how to write cover letters, how to put your resume together, how to put together a portfolio. These are things that you can use in any career that you have. And what I also want to point out is it's not just about career. We also have a number of YR stars that go on to start their own organizations and start their own businesses. And I love to see that too, because sometimes we send them out here into this marketplace and they say, oh my gosh, I like what I'm doing, but I am being othered. I'm being treated in a way I don't like. I'm going to go do my own thing. And they have the skills that they can do that.
Well, that entrepreneurial opportunity for them is something really, really special. Great education happens in part because great educators inspire the young people that they get the chance to work with. You're the CEO of YR Media. Are there particular things that you are passionate about when you think about the work you do with the organization and how that works out in the lives of the young people?
Absolutely. Well, I see myself in the young people that we work with. And as I mentioned, I've been a journalist for 20 years, but there have been times where someone has come into a newsroom I've worked in and immediately assumed that I was an executive assistant to one of the other media executives. Couldn't possibly fathom that I'm actually out reporting, even though someone did this to me at the time where I was on a TV segment, had a radio segment going, but they would come up and they would put the packages in front of me. And again, there is, that is a great career as well, but that wasn't the career I had. And I even moved once to see if it was because of where I was sitting. I was right in the doorway. And when I see these young people, when I hear their stories about how they want to see themselves reflected back in the media that they read, the music, the creative, all of these different fields, it still resonates with me. Even though I've gotten past that portion in my career, I still experience that, where people question you. They try to make you feel like you don't belong there. They try to, kind of shake your confidence. And it's easier to do when you're by yourself. So my goal has always been to not ever be the only one. Sometimes organizations do this thing where, sure, we have some diversity. We have one fill in the blank and we have two fill in the blank. I don't want that. Like, I want us to be filling the room, and not just somebody in a staff photo, but somebody with agency who can sit at the table and say, hey, this is an idea I have, or hey, I don't love that photo that we selected for this story. It doesn't really reflect the nuance that we need. Or, hey, why are we going to this source? In the music industry, why do I have to be the artist in the front? Why can't I be the executive? Why can't I be the person that is really, coming up with the strategies? That's what I would like to see. And so the YR Media mission really resonated for me because even though I wish things were much better, they're not. And we just really need to keep working toward that. So that's what keeps me going, is seeing the reflection. And then sometimes, unfortunately, hearing them experience the same things I experienced, 15, 20 years later.
There's that issue of understanding that your own potential is something that can find a community that you may not see immediately. I think one of the comments that came through in the chat had to do with the experience of being in Chicago. And so for from Rory, he was talking about he didn't really like the blizzards, right? And so he ended up in Houston, which is a good way to avoid blizzards for sure. Is there something for you? Was there pull and push? Is there something about finding the right community that allows you to really kind of be the you who you want to be? What do you think about when you think about your own experiences and where you've ended up and how that relates to feeling confident about your own possibilities?
I mean, I try to be geography agnostic. I go where the opportunity is, and I feel community these days can be completely virtual in some cases. I mean, it's not ideal, as we learned during the pandemic, but it's possible. I have a community of women that I'm associated with that I barely ever see, but our connection is really strong. So whether I'm in Chicago or whether I'm in Oakland, the connection remains the same to the mission of the organization. And I think for me, I just go where I see a need. And so I'm grateful that I was able to move to Oakland and find great people here in Oakland, in the Bay Area in general, and that are really focused on our young people that really want to build a better community. And you find the same thing in Chicago. So there are a lot of parallels there. And that is one of the reasons we did go to Chicago, is that we know that there are people who do care about this. Chicago's a major media city, and they want to see more young people, especially young people that look like the makeup of America, in these newsrooms, in these music studios, in these creative studios, and in these podcast lineups. That's the way that we should want things to go. So I think the one great thing is we want to go places where people support us and that people understand that there's a need.
I love that. Matter of fact, that so beautifully speaks not only to the sense of community, but the sense of community that is an important part of who we are as the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, and online and asynchronous group of folks getting together to see what we can do to inspire change in the world in all sorts of wonderfully constructive ways. I'm going to wind things down and then hand it back to our speaker for a final word. But for all of you who have joined us, thank you for taking your time to hang out with us. As you can tell, if you have spent time getting emails about upcoming recordings or taking a look through our archives page or along our YouTube channel or in our podcast archives, you know that we get a chance to talk to some wonderfully interesting people like Kyra, and that they have messages that allow us to see the world in new ways and get excited about our own potential to make a difference in the lives of others. Rotary International has a motto of service above self. And I think all of us find that there is a special joy in finding how we can be of service to others. How can we make it so that others begin to see possibilities in their lives that they may not have known were out there? So do a couple of favors for us real quick. If you are on our SiliconValleyRotary.com page, just tell us you were here. There's an attendance form, and at the bottom you can leave comments. What did you think of this program? What did you think of other elements of the meeting? The Learn Something New segment that JAGS puts out there, the inspirational video, the note from the president at the top of the page. All of these things are things that we would love for your feedback on. It's one of the ways in an asynchronous club we get to share ideas. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final words. So with that, Kyra, what would you like to have people clearly having in mind as they finish watching the video?
Well, I would just like to say that you really, really cannot change the message unless you change the messenger. So that is why it is extremely important to invest in the future of media, music, technology, design by making sure that we are mirroring our real population. I know that's a thorny topic out here, but we have to say it with our full chests and really believe it because it's more important than ever. So I do want to thank you for this forum and this platform. It's amazing talking to you. I cannot wait to taste some of Shag's paella. His, those mouth-watering photos have got me. But I do hope that this isn't the last time that we'll connect, and that if your members have questions, that they are more than welcome to reach out to us, and we would love to hear from them.
Wonderful. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this, and we hope you will also join us again next week. We look forward to it.